All right, so now that we've been able to digest the Josh Giddey contract news and let it marinate a bit, we've all had our quick reactions once the news first broke. Some liked the deal, some really did not, but because it's been nearly 24 hours since the Shams bomb of the Bulls and Giddey agreeing to that 4-year, $100 million deal, I wanted to discuss and dissect this a little bit more and clear up some misconceptions that I've seen from a handful of fans on the internet, and then also talking about what this deal means for the Bulls, both for the short term and long term. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, I won't lie, I really did think this was going to go down to the wire, where Giddey and the Bulls would agree on an extension in the hours leading up to the October 1st deadline, which would not have been ideal, at least from a team building perspective, to be unsure what was going to happen with Josh Giddey as the team is about to start training camp in the first week of October. This now ensures Giddey is locked up under contract in advance of training camp and can join the team in Chicago, as many of them have already returned to Chicago, which I'm sure most of you saw, a good amount of them in attendance at the Bears' first game of the season, which my condolences to my Bears fans. But anyway, it gets the contract out of the way. It's finally over. No more speculating whether Giddey is going to take the qualifying offer, how much the contract is going to be, how long the contract should be. It's done. 4 years, $100 million, fully guaranteed. No player or team options on that final year. Now, we don't know quite yet, at least I haven't found anything as of right now, on whether the contract is an ascending deal, descending, or straight flat $25 million per year for the 4 years. Let me know in the comments actually if you guys have seen anything differently. But knowing the Bulls in their most recent deal with Patrick Williams and then Lonzo Ball before they traded him, they did a flat contract for all of those years. But regardless, it's going to be $100 million over 4 seasons, no matter how the numbers shake out per season. Now, my initial reaction to the signing was, to be honest, what I expected. I had always maintained that fair value for Giddey was around $25 million a year, that I wouldn't want to see the Bulls go much higher than that. I said I obviously would love to see them go a little lower. I would have loved to get Giddey at 22 or 23 million, but I knew that 20 million, as a lot of fans were pushing for, and evidently was the Bulls' initial offer, was a bit of a lowball offer. And I talked about the potential ramifications of strong-arming Giddey into that deal just because you could with the leverage that you have. As the last thing you want to do is lowball and get a player that you value and you want on the team long term to become disgruntled and feel they are being paid well below their worth. And then to have the negative morale impact his play on the court as well. So when I saw 4 years, $100 million, I was like, yep, that makes sense. Bulls have been offering 20, Giddey wanted 30, and they met in the middle before they let this thing drag out too long. I guess the only thing that surprised me a bit is that just last week it was reported that the Bulls upped their offer as a best and final offer of 4 years, $88 million. So to quickly just say, okay, fine, $100 million, let's do it. Seems like giving in pretty quickly when they had been holding out for so long and using that leverage to their advantage. But no, I mean, in short, I think it's a fair deal. I think it's a good deal for both sides, and here's why. First of all, you have to understand, in any contract that is given in the NBA and trying to assess if it's a good deal or not, you have to look at the amount a player's salary as a percentage of the cap. So max contracts start at 25% of the cap, meaning a player on a max deal is making 25% of the team's overall cap. That can go up to 30% of the cap when a player hits 10 years of service in the NBA, and 35% of the cap in the event of a supermax contract. Josh Giddey's contract, in just the first year, again, if we assume it's a flat $25 million per year, is 16% of the salary cap for next season. Now, as the salary cap continues to go up every year, that percentage is going to go down and down. Bobby Marks mentioned that Giddey's contract over the 4 years, depending on if it's ascending or descending, will range from 13.8 to 14.5% of the cap. That's it. Like, I know some people aren't fans of Giddey. There are a lot of skeptics on whether he's a winning player, especially in the postseason, even though he's only been to the postseason once in his career. But based on Giddey's age, the fact that he still has upside, and the percentage of his salary relative to the cap, that's not an overpay. Giddey's salary, again, just for the first year, it'll be more favorable over time, but his salary in that first year would rank 78th among all players in the NBA. Sorry, I should say tied for 78th. Want to know who the other players are that'll be making the same amount as Josh Giddey? Nas Reed, Draymond Green, Anthony Simons, John Collins. Now, some might say, well, those guys are on bad contracts. Okay, fine. But it illustrates why $25 million in today's NBA for a starting point guard, one that is an elite playmaker with size and versatile positioning, is fair value. I mean, I won't even mention some of the players that are going to be making more than Josh Giddey. Tyler Hero, Jordan Poole, Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Hartenstein, RJ Barrett, Nick Claxton. I mean, those guys are going to be making more than Giddey in this upcoming season. So anyway, my point in all of this is I think people need to slow their roll a bit when they make these claims like Giddey is overpaid and not worth that kind of money. The other thing I didn't mention is that Locking Giddey up at this rate for 4 years, he'll be 26, close to turning 27 by the time the contract ends. Getting him at $25 million per year, when it's very possible the mid-level exception could be near 18 or 19 million by the 4th year. If the Bulls need to pivot, they need to blow it up, or they realize, Giddey isn't the guy for us, that's a very tradable contract for a player who is still going to be young by the end of it, in his prime, and not on a max level deal. It would be different if Giddey was heading into his mid-30s by the end of the deal, like the Bulls were facing with Zach LaVine in his max contract, which made it so challenging to try and move him. Now, what does this mean for the Bulls in the short and long term in their future? Well, short term, you at least maintain your starting point guard for this upcoming season. You'll be able to get a full year's worth of data of Giddey and Kobe in the backcourt to see if in fact they can replicate what they did at the end of last season. But more importantly, they now have a good idea of what their cap sheet is going to look like heading into the 2026 offseason. The Bulls, as of right now, have a little over $80 million coming off the books by the end of this season. Vucevic, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins are the biggest contracts coming off the payroll. The only players that they now have under contract beyond this upcoming season are Giddey, Patrick Williams, Trey Jones, Isaac Okoro, and Jalen Smith, who only have one more year after this season, meaning Jalen Smith and Isaac Okoro, and then Modest and Asenge on their rookie scale deals. The Bulls would only have around $78 million in guaranteed money on their books going into the 26-27 season, which would give them a significant amount of cap space heading into free agency in 2026. Close to $90 million in cap space. That's nearly enough to sign 2 max-level players. And the Bulls aren't going to do that because they would need to fill out the rest of their roster, and they're not really in a position to be throwing max deals to players in their current state. And of course, it's $90 million in cap space, but that doesn't factor in potential extensions for Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, both players who are going to command more money than what they're currently making. Would they extend Huerter or Zach Collins? My guess is no on that one. What about Dylan Terry? I think they're likely going to let him walk at this point, but regardless, that $90 million could dwindle pretty quickly depending on how much they need to pay some of their current free agents who are on expiring deals, most notably Kobe White. And we know Kobe is going to get paid. Like some initial reports are saying, anywhere in the ballpark of $30 to $35 million per year. And who knows if that becomes even more if Kobe has an incredible season where he becomes a first-time All-Star. But regardless, it still leaves enough room for the Bulls to actually make some big moves next offseason, even if they do extend Kobe to a high figure. So I know for the most part, there is always this pessimistic outlook among Bulls fans. Yes, even myself at times as well. But the Bulls are quietly positioning themselves well to not only have financial flexibility in the future, but also having these young guns in Modest and Asenge to go along with Josh Giddey, who, yes, hasn't even entered his prime yet. And they also have control of all their draft picks, future draft picks as well. So let's see where this thing goes. A lot of it depends on which Josh Giddey we see next season. Is it the pre-All-Star break Giddey or post-break where he was playing out of his mind, averaging near triple-double on insane shooting splits? If it's the latter, that contract looks even more like a bargain if you're able to get that kind of efficiency for that cost. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys think though. You let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.